Famine of the Word. Last episode that we shared with God's people, we dealt with this famine experience. And it was denoted that famine means to have a sense of starvation, to be a shortage in need. Famine is to be in want. Famine is when you have a lack of something, insufficiency, a hardship, or distress. Anytime you see the word famine, famine is the opposite of abundance. And we learned last week about my friend Amos. He didn't come from prophetical family. Didn't have a priestly background. Matter of fact, this is a good time for me to interject about Amos. Amos was a country boy. Wasn't many people interested in listening at what the country boy had to say. Matter of fact, he was a herd. And Amos' prophecies are prophesied during a period of national optimism in Israel. If you know the history, business, it was becoming bulging and boundaries have began to go its way. But below the surface of all the good things that were happening, there was some greed and some injustice that had began to fester. Another thing that had happened was hypocritical religious motion had replaced worship. In other words, people that were worshiping God were no longer authentic. In the 21st century, it would be said that they were flogging. They were perpetrating, and I know that I don't have anybody here that's flogging this morning. Everybody is genuine worshipers. But during this period of time, they had begun to create a false sense of security and a growing callousness to God's disciplined hand. I'm just in the introduction. I really can preach that part. Isn't it amazing that the more God takes us to, the worse we are. I would love to say we're getting better. But the jails are still full. People don't come to church like they used to. Isn't it funny that when you didn't have much, you had more God? But the more that you seem to acquire, God has no place in your life. Amos, during this period of time, there was a famine, a drought, a plague, death and destruction. And nothing that ever happened forced the people on their knees. Isn't it amazing that the more God lets you go through, you would just generally think that people would pray more sincerely. I love that scripture where it says, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. So when you read Amos deals with some interesting things. I know you ain't got time. This is just too much history for you to deal with. I'll be on your road shortly. I'll be there in a minute. Just give me a few minutes. I'll get there. Amos dealt with some stuff like 8 prophecies to nations. He dealt with 3 sermons, 5 visions, and 5 promises. When you look at the things that Amos dealt with, and he kept warning the people, and one of the things that I've discovered, just as a believer, I don't have to go through what you go through to learn. All I got to do is just notice somebody catching hell. That's a clear example. That ain't what I want to go through. Let me just drop it in your lap, and I know you'll get this. All I need to do is just notice somebody broke. It just tells me one thing. I don't want to go that way. You ever been there? You ever just seen some calamities that happen to people that sometimes the calamity is not for the person that is happening to, but it's for you and for your blessing for you in your life. So he gives this judgment to these nations. As a matter of fact, he gave it to 8 nations. First of all, he gave a judgment to Damascus. He was mad with Damascus because they had ravaged the Israelite city of Gilead. And he turns around and Damascus would be burned and the people would be enslaved. Then he dealt with Philistia. He said that their sin, they had sold God's people into slavery. I can tell they got no Old Testament readers. And he says, let me tell you what's going to happen to you. That the Philistines were torched and the people, and they all would be killed. He turns around and deals with Titus. That's in the 9th chapter and verse. That's in the 9th verse of the 1st chapter, in case you want to read it. And their sins where they had broken the treaty with the people of Israel and had betrayed them. And their sentence was that they would be burned. Then he deals with this group of folk called Edomites. And their sin, they had hound Israel with a sword. Then he turns around and said, guess what I'm going to do? I'm still going to burn them up. Then here comes Amnon. He said, guess what Amnon did? These people were so vicious until they would rip open pregnant women and to ensure that there would be no more children that would be born. I know you ain't read it, but I'm in the Bible. I know you're looking for the commercial appeal, but I want to preach Amos. I want to preach about the prodigal son. I want to preach Amos this month. You want me to preach about the 3 Hebrew boys? I want to preach Amos. I mean, just think about this. Can you see some folk being so vicious and so vile that everybody that was pregnant, they would cut their stomachs open to intake the baby to make sure that there would be no more children and that would be born. I'm talking about some hostile folk. Good God from Zion. And I got a couple folk in here. You've been pregnant at least once. I mean, come on, talk to me. And you get mad and when you got to go to the doctor. Let's know somebody taking the baby. Come on. You ain't talking about having no C-section. Y'all ain't talking about that. Hey, I mean, that's a mighty operation. Come on. Y'all acting funny. I can tell when I'm on your roll already. And don't be be mad with me if you can't have children. I mean, come on. You need to pray to God about that thing, and God will deliver. And folk were so vicious and so vile that every time somebody showed up with the stomach out a little bit far and they were getting ready to have a child, and guess what? The folk were so vicious they would just take the child from them. And God got mad about it, and guess what he did? He burned up the entire city. Lord have mercy. Well, let me go to Moab. I must get out of here. I can tell. And y'all ready to get your Christmas dinner. So Moab shows up. They had desecrated the tombs and showing no respect for the dead. Well, watch this. They would go. You know where New Park is, don't you? Guess what? They would go to New Park and dig up all of the graves and burn the graves. I mean, they were some mean and some vicious folk. And guess what? They show no respect for the dead. Now, come on, talk to me. And everybody had like to go put some flowers on the grave every now and then. And guess what? These folk were so vicious until they made sure it was no graves left for you to put in the flowers on the grave. Now, let me just interject Amos again. Our country boy. Look, he wasn't even a preacher's child. He is a country boy that's used to herding cattle and pulling figs from a sycamore tree. And guess what? He had no education. He never went to the University of Memphis. He never went to Lamar, never went to Rutgers. Never went to Davidson. I wish y'all say amen. I mean, God, just don't pat your feet. At least I can hear. At least let me wake you out. Let me know you're in here. I mean, come on, put me in your faith 5. I'm already out of here. Come on. And it's strange to me that all of a sudden teaching, and you just say, thank God I ain't Amos. Look, I mean, Amos had a hard job. And the Lord turns around and burns the people up again. So here comes Judah. Judah, guess what? They had rejected the law of God. And I come to tell you, guess what? Whatever you do in your life, you can reject a lot of folk, but don't reject God. Look, you can reject your boss, but don't reject God. And let me tell you something, it's a dangerous thing for you to reject God. Well, guess what? He turns around and destroys Judah. That's in the 2nd chapter. I'm traveling, I'm on my way somewhere. And that's in the 4th and 5th verse. You're like, I don't know the Bible. I know what I'm talking about. Help me here. And the next thing that happened, there was Israel. And guess what? That's in the 2nd chapter. If you feel like reading it, it's between the 6th and the 16th verse. Come on. If you bring it out, you know where I'm at. And then I get a couple witnesses in here. And guess what? They had some awesome sins. Let's see what happened to the children. They had bribery. They had cruelty. They had immorality. They had hypocrisy. And they was tempting those that were God there to see. How do you put a pin in it? You ever had anybody tempt you to sin? Most of you babies all be waving your hand at least once. Come on, you all just, all right. I know you. I can tell when I'm on your road, you get real quiet with that kind of stuff. And let me tell you something, temptation is a must. And I got some folk in here right now. You struggle with temptation. I mean, temptation will call your name. I mean, guess what? Don't you know that Satan knows what you like? There's not a sin. Come on, y'all, talk to him. If he know you like cognac, that's what he gonna say.